Hi everyone! My project is going to focus on the importance of ecofeminism to environmental technology development, implementation, and utilization. Technologies for environmental sustainability and action in the Third World often overlook and exclude the voices of Third World women, even though it is often these women who interact with the environment and perform the majority of environmental-related activities. Because of the frequency of interaction between women and the environment, it is women who disproportionately suffer from environmental concerns and degradation. Through this project, I seek to give more insight into the importance of ecofeminism and local participation in the development, implementation, and utilization of technologies within the realm of the environment. This is an important paradigm to explore because in order to create a sustainable future and aid the environment, those who are at the forefront of environmental interaction and devastation must be a part of policy and technology development, not just those with the resources or false belief that they know best. I've broken my research into several key areas, which I hope will draw attention to the tendency of technology to prove beneficial and easily applicable only to those who design it, the ways which systems of oppression interact with one another in relation to the environment, and the need for new environmental technologies to be implemented in the Global South. Overwhelmingly, the technology sector is westernized and dominated by upper-middle-class white men. Thus, technology only reflects the interests, usually profit-driven, and experiences of those designing it. The exclusive nature of technology can further be exemplified by the fact that 89% of Silicon Valley executives are men, and 83% of tech executives are white. Not only does the tech industry uphold a capitalist and racist patriarchy, but the lack of diversity within this sector leads to the development of technologies with built-in biases. An example of this is the Google search algorithm. When typing into Google unprofessional hairstyles, the images which are displayed as the best results are those of textured, braided, and natural hairstyles prominent in the cultural heritage of Black individuals. As many people often turn to technology and science for objective truths, the unconscious and conscious biases built in the Google search algorithm bolsters hegemonic ideologies, naturalizing that Black individuals who do not conform to a Eurocentric or white hairstyle are unprofessional, which in turn continually works to marginalize and oppress historically disenfranchised groups. Thus, technology at its core is driven by a vision that makes sense for the people who designed it and fails far too easily for many of the rest of us. Due to patriarchal narratives, female gender roles often overlap with particular environmental activities in ways which male gender roles do not. Additionally, the dominant ideology of the West, rooted in colonial domination, not only works to oppress and attack indigenous populations, Black and other people of color, but also the queer erotic of non-westernized peoples, their culture, and their land. Through an ecofeminist lens, the ways the lives of women and other marginalized groups are affected by historical power structures and the environment can be identified. In order to understand why women's involvement in technology planning is so beneficial, one must understand the essential roles women play in their communities in relation to the environment, and also recognize the socio-cultural conditions which make possible the invisibility of women in environmental planning and development throughout the Global South. Although the notion of development in relation to technology can be viewed as a subjective dualism of Western populations, the creation of modern technologies for sustainability and safety in the Global South would be beneficial to a variety of environmental activities and those who perform them. However, the technology I'm advocating for are not new technologies aimed at cash economies, which make women suffer due to decreased opportunities to use natural resources as a source of income, but rather technologies which would benefit the livelihoods of those performing a task, their community, and the environment as a whole. Although seemingly unrelated to some, the intersection of technology, gender, and the environment are an essential paradigm to analyze to ensure not only a sustainable future, but also one which challenges historic discourses and systems of power. There is often an idea that technology is synonymous with innovation. However, as I've exemplified, this is not always the case. In week 1, we were offered the example of the Western forestry industry by Warren. Here she noted 3 key assumptions of the industry. The first assumption being that outsiders know best, The second being profit and commercial needs are most important, and third, large-scale operations are better than small-scale ones. I argue that these three characteristics are common across Western companies as they are all entrenched under a capitalist business model. Additionally, I argue that the difficulties in technology transfer and the lack of involvement of women are a direct result of these three traits. A case study which illustrates the need for consultation and active involvement from those who will be using technologies is the implementation of rural radio systems for rice farmers. Although beneficial in theory due to the lack of consultation with those who will actually be using the technology, radio shows and workshops designed to improve the productivity of these rice farmers were only broadcasted at times when these farmers would be busy with their crops. This example, in addition to the example of the forestry industry given by Warren, exemplifies the hierarchical order Western technology holds itself to. Where grassroots innovation allowing for technologies to be catered to the needs of the local population are implemented, the livelihoods of the communities are improved, as the Global South has real innovation driven by community-oriented goals and values rather than only profit and an imperial attitude. Around the world, gender roles restrict women's mobility, impose tasks associated with food production and caregiving, and simultaneously obstruct women from participating in decision-making about climate change, greenhouse gas emissions, and decisions about adaptation and mitigation. Thus, a gendered analysis of environmental involvement and power must be central to understanding and developing technologies for environmental sustainability in the future. Understanding complex cultural conditions and beliefs are an important part of ensuring that technology transfer is smooth and actually beneficial. Environmental technology, much like the environment itself, can not only be approached through a scientific lens, but also an intersectional and ecofeminist one. With this approach, key stakeholders who must be involved with the technology development, implementation, and utilization can be recognized. Where outsiders are spearheading environmental projects, community members must be viewed as partners and have access to manage their own resources and technology. By merging science, ecofeminism, and environmental concerns, oppressive ideologies present both within the South and the North will less likely be reproduced through technological bias and allow for the adoption of healthier, more sustainable, useful, and equitable technologies in the Global South.